from Medford, and what else? I'm a med major.
Med. Very nice.
Well, med chem, but yes.
So why did you want to do this project? Like, why did you volunteer to tell your story?
I thought it's a really cool project. It goes along the lines with what I have been feeling for several years, that like the issues with mental health need to get out there and people need to be educated on what they really are, because a lot of people don't believe that they are real, and even people in the psychology field until recently didn't accept depression, anxiety, bipolar, a lot of those as actual disorders and actual issues. They just thought it was people being dramatic or making them up, and people need to realize that they are real, that people do suffer from them, and how to communicate with people that have those issues, because a lot of people have that on the, well, they're just being dramatic, or they don't know what they're saying. They're just having a sad moment, and they're just overemphasizing everything when really there is an actual issue there.
Yeah, definitely. So what's been your struggle?
For several years, for about 4 years now, I've been diagnosed and struggled with depression and anxiety myself, and my mom had an MDD breakdown my senior year of high school, right before graduation.
What can you?
Is major depressive disorder. So basically, she couldn't function in society. She couldn't go out of the house for months. Just the idea of going to the grocery store made her so anxious that she would have an anxiety attack, and that she wouldn't be able to leave the house. She had trouble with insomnia, not being able to sleep, or sleeping at weird times, just trouble with her mood in general, and it was very hard. It was to the point where it was bad enough that we didn't want to leave her alone, and also struggling with it myself was difficult, and people, knowing so many people that are like, oh, well, they're just being dramatic, or it's just empty nest syndrome, it's just because you're leaving, and we knew that wasn't the case, and that it's not specifically something could trigger it, but it's not because of that. It's not because I was leaving for college. It's not because I'm a senior in high school and I'm so stressed about getting everything done for senior year and graduating and moving on to college that I just can't deal with things, and I'm anxious and I'm depressed to be leaving home. It's an actual chemical imbalance, and it's really hard to deal with that when people don't realize it, or you're in a large group and you just have to sit back and people think you're being non-social, or that they've done something to upset you, when in reality you can't handle the stimulus.
Yeah. So how does it affect your life? And what about that?
Now, after a while, you do get used to it. You learn how to deal with it, but at first it was really hard. Withdrew, didn't really have many interactions with my friends. If I did, it was over message, not really in person. I didn't really want to go out and do many things. I wanted to just be home and be in my little self-contained area, my room, my space, and not really deal with people, or deal with only one or two people at a time. And moving was probably the hardest thing. I had to go through counseling weekly when I first moved up here because of being away from home, being an only child. It was really hard and set not only my depression off, but my anxiety. I'd be sitting in class and you'd hear something that would normally just make somebody nervous, or be like, oh, I need to study more for that, or I need to try harder in this class, where it just makes you think, oh my gosh, am I not doing well? Am I not going to be able to pass this class? Do I not have enough time? Am I stupid? Do I not understand this? Like, what's going on? And so many things are rushing through your head that you just break down. You can't function. You can't think straight, and it affects every part of your life. And people don't realize that you literally can't function as a normal human being in society until you can figure out how to manage it.
Yeah. So how do you cope? How do you manage?
For me, the best way is now that until this year has been my best year because having a good, solid friend group that can understand and support you through what you're going with and is willing to listen is the best thing. Having people who will listen and support you and just be like, I'm here for you, I will hug you if you need it, I will listen, I will just sit here next to you and watch shows with you, I will just sit on the phone or in my room, and if you need me, just let me know. And that's been the biggest help in having people, okay, you can do this, like, you may be stressed right now, you may not think that you can get through this class or get through this test, but we'll help you study, we'll help you get through it, and we'll all go hang out on this day and do this or whatever. And having that is very helpful with both the depression and anxiety, and having people there that are like, if you need help with studying, with your flashcards, or you just need to be in a change of environment, because sometimes just changing your environment can help with stress or whatever, anxiety in my case, and just being able to be, hey, you can come over and do your homework at my place, and that's really helpful. And also having friends that deal with it themselves with depression or anxiety is helpful because they know what you're going through and they understand it, and they're like, yeah, I know, I go through it too, we can deal with this together.
Yeah. So your friends have been supportive of you, who else has been a really big support in your life, or what else?
My friends, my family, my parents are very supportive, with my mom knowing how it is, and also other family members knowing how depression and anxiety are and how to deal with it. I've always had good relationship with my parents, and having them there that I can call no matter what's going on and just being like, you can do this, like, we'll talk about it and we'll come up with a plan of attack. And just remember, eat your whale one bite at a time. That's what my high school psychology teacher told me, that don't try and take everything on at once. Look at what you have to do and break it into little pieces. If it's a big project or a big assignment, be like, okay, I'm going to do this part. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to take a break. Then I'm going to come back and do something else. Makes it a lot easier to manage instead of being, oh my gosh, I have 7 assignments to do, 2 papers to write, and a test coming up. I can't do this. It's like, okay, one thing at a time, manage your time, and if I get too stressed, I'll take a break. Or the other biggest thing that's been helping me is I have a little furry fluff ball of a bunny, and he's very helpful for my emotional well-being, just being able to watch him and hug him and play with him. And having a pet it can be work, but it's also very helpful, not just for myself, but for many of my friends who also have pets. It's very helpful with the depression to be able to see there's something else there that's going to love you unconditionally and is willing to hang out with you and play with you, and they're like, I'm here, no, like, I don't know what's wrong, but I'm here and I want to play with you and I love you. And it's nice to know that you have that.
Yeah. What do you think the difference is between stress and anxiety?
Stress is something that everybody feels. You feel like you're under pressure to get something done. You have a deadline, and if you're running a little behind, you're going to feel a little more stressed than normal. Your levels of, like, I need to do this, I need to get this done, your focus and, like, determination usually go up with stress, and it makes it a little easier for some people to get it done. Other people, they feel overwhelmed, and it just makes it harder. Where with anxiety, you don't have to be under a deadline. It doesn't have to be a project or something that you need to get done. It can be, I have to be in a group of people, and even with 5 people, you feel so anxious, your heart starts beating really fast, you can't think straight, you can't function. Some people get shaky, like I get shaky, I'm just like, I can't function, I can't focus, I can't think. You feel like you're being closed in on, and you just get to the point where even sometimes you're just like, I can't do this. I will either start hyperventilating or I will just break down and cry because I'm like, I can't physically function at all, to the point where I'm in full breakdown, where I just can't do it.
So a lot of people are really wary of like psychologists, counselors, and stuff. How do you feel about that?
I understand being wary of it. It is, as far as sciences go, it's more of a soft science, not something that you can physically hold and touch. So being able to realize that it's not just about psychology in general and the things they can learn, but it's about how can they help you figure out how to get through it, how can whatever you're going through get sorted out, and ways that you can manage it, whether it be a stressful event or a midterm or just an assignment. An example being, like, I like going to counselors. I know it is scary and it's hard to find a counselor that fits what you want and the type of dynamic you need, but for example, last year my dad ended up in the hospital and we almost lost him a couple times, and being able to have that counselor there, like, okay, well, this is normal for you to be feeling. What you're going through is normal for this kind of stress, this kind of situation, and these are things that you can do to help with that. Or, well, why do you think you're feeling that specific emotion about it? Why do you feel like you need to take on all the responsibilities here? And help you figure out, well, this may actually be the root of my problem, not actually what's going on. Or these are steps you can take to make sure that you're going to be okay through this. Make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you're eating, make sure you're getting time with your friends, because that's going to help your emotional well-being and help you feel better, even if it's just temporary. And those are a lot of things that you can't figure out on your own, or that somebody you're close to or your friends can't tell you. It's not like, oh yeah, well, you just need to push through it and you can get through this. It's only for a little while. And they're not going to tell you that. They may say it's for a little while, but here are steps to help you get through it.
Yeah. You kind of touched on this, but you're very scientific minded and stuff, but we hear a lot of times like depression, anxiety, like it's a chemical imbalance, which is true. But like, how does it feel? Like you've kind of touched on that, but do you want to describe that more in depth?
For me, I'll start with anxiety. There's times where something can stress me out to the point that I am, like recently we had a fallout and with some people that I live with, and it's to the point where my anxiety kicked in so bad that I didn't want to be home. Being home made me so anxious I couldn't relax, I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping for 2 or 3 hours, and then when I'd wake up, I would be awake but not really functional. I'd be so anxious that when I try and sleep, your brain won't shut off. You can't get good sleep. That no matter what, you feel like everybody's attacking you. You feel like you're being ganged up on, you're being closed in on, and you have no safe place. You have no place where you can go and feel like you're okay, your safe zone, your even having family and friends around, it's like it'll help, but it only helps temporarily. It may help for the moment, but as soon as your mind is off on something else, it goes straight back to what's making you anxious, and it feels like you can't get anything done. You can't do anything, that no matter how hard you try, you're never going to be able to understand it. You're never going to be able to get it done. And it can feel like even your pet's against you, which I know is weird, but it's like, I don't want to be loved right now. I want to run or whatever. It can feel like they don't like you either. Like they just want you to leave them alone, when in reality they just want to do something else. It's not that they don't love you. It's, no, I want to play right now, or I'm going to eat, I'm going to sleep, whatever, when it's not really aimed towards you, which also feeds into the depression, where you feel worthless, like nobody wants to be around you, like you're not worth it. There's really nothing you can give to the relationship with your friends or your animal or your family, and you feel worthless, you feel out of place, that you literally can't, like, I can't do this job, I made a mistake, I'm the worst person ever, that I'm not going to be able to handle dealing with somebody who is upset, or somebody could say something that's totally not directed in whatever sense that you take it, but you take it the wrong way, and you're like, oh my gosh, they don't even know me, but they hate me, and it just makes you want to just curl up in a ball and hide in the blankets.
Yeah. How does it affect your relationship with other people? We've kind of talked about that, but
With, like, my friends and my family, it affects it a little bit, but if I can tell them, hey, like, I'm not having a good day, or tell them what's going on when something comes up that I don't know why, but whatever was just said, like, it sent me off. It's not you, it's just that I'm emotional right now. Being able to let them know helps, but when it comes to people you don't know, I'm very wary of talking to other people and getting to know them, especially when it's like, well, I could say something that will set them off, and I don't want to make them mad at me because I already have enough things going on, and trying to get to know new people is pretty much not possible. It's very, very difficult. It's hard as is when you are trying to get to know people you don't know, but it makes it even worse when you have that fear of them judging you or rejecting you without actually knowing you, and you're like, I feel like I'm better than this, like they're judging me on things they don't know, and it makes it a lot harder versus, oh, I can do this, like I was just having a bad day. And people who are very sociable and get along well with other people can definitely be hard to be around. I have a friend like that, and it drives me nuts half the time that you get along with everybody, and I can't even approach like an advisor that I haven't talked to before, or a teacher that I just need something signed and I'm scared to go talk to them.
Do you ever have like a turning point with your depression and anxiety that you were like, I need help?
Probably, I knew that I was having more trouble than I had used to, and for me, my turning point was in my psychology class. I did a project on depression because it interested me, and it was something that I always thought, this is something that people need to know more about, so I'm going to research it and learn more about it myself. And also in very close to that same time period, my mom had her breakdown where she was at home, and even that was hard. She could even barely handle having me and my dad around, and so that was like, okay, I need to go and get help with this before I get to that point, because if you just try and pretend everything's okay, or you push through it because you've been told that it's all in your head, that there's nothing wrong with you, that I didn't want to see myself get to that point where I can't even function being in the house where there's only 2 other people around. I don't want to get to that point when I'm trying to go to college. I'm living in a new place, trying to deal with people I don't know, living with somebody I've only talked to on the phone, I've never met before, being 4 hours away from my parents, and I didn't want to have to deal with that on top of everything else. So that was really my turning point with going and like realizing I need to get help with this, that I can't do this on my own, even though I think that I could. And once I realized that, everything started getting a little better. It's hard at first to actually realize I need help and to admit it and to look for help, but once you do, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah. What do you want other people to know about depression and anxiety?
That, yes, there are people who will say, oh, I'm depressed, and they're just upset, but most people who will say, I am depressed or I have depression actually do have been diagnosed or are in the process of it, and like realize what it is and how big of an issue it is. So if somebody tells you they have depression or they have anxiety, don't judge them, and do not tell them that it's all going to be okay, you just need to try harder, or you just need to look at tomorrow as a new day, and you're just being over dramatic. None of that is true. tomorrow is a new day, but that doesn't mean it's going to be better. That doesn't mean it's going to be any easier, and that doesn't mean that that's going to make the problem go away, that's going to make how you're feeling get any better. That if you know somebody who has depression or anxiety, just be there, just support them, let them know that you're there for them no matter what, let them talk to you, just if they need somebody to be around, just be there, and don't try and make them be around other people. Don't try and make them do things they don't want to do, to go out and, oh, let's go hang out with everybody, or let's go do this, let's do whatever. Just do whatever. What do you want to do? Do you want to just sit here and talk? Do you want to watch a movie? Do you want to just hide? Or do you want to play with my animal? Like, what do you want to do? And also with feeling anxious, don't make them feel like they need to be, well, you have to get this done by tomorrow, so you need to do it. Well, you might need to, but there's points where you're like, I can't take this anymore, so you know what I have done is good enough. So it's like, okay, for now, we'll take a break. We'll go do something else. We'll watch a show, whatever, get your mind off of it. And then if you feel calm enough to come back to it later, I'll help you work on it. We'll get through this. What do I need to do to help you? And just not adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah. Amen. So what stigma, like, have you felt against depression and anxiety that you want to kind of address? Like, have you felt stigmatized, I guess?
The biggest stigma with them would be, at least for me, that you're being overdramatic. You are making everything seem much bigger than it really is. And there are sometimes that's true, but that's not because I'm making it bigger than it is. That's because to me it is bigger than what you think it would be. And not like getting told, oh, you'll be okay, like tomorrow's a new day and you'll be fine tomorrow, just get some sleep, or just push through it, you'll be fine. And they may not be names that they're calling you, they may not be stigmas in that sense, but the stigmas towards these things are more so things that people say and how they act towards you. They stay away from you if they're like, oh, you're different, you're like unstable and I don't want to be around you. You could like explode and I don't even know, you could have a mental breakdown, you could start breaking things. Like, they don't know what's going to happen, and that's what scares them. So they do it to the best of their ability. They're just like, I'm going to either stay away from you or you'll be better. Like, just act like it's somebody who's just sad or is a little stressed out or overwhelmed with a project versus this is a real issue that somebody's going through and it's not the same. So don't address it as somebody who's just sad or is just a little stressed from a project.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone with depression and anxiety who's struggling with it?
My biggest advice would be, I know it's hard, but tell the people around you that you trust what's going on. Try to get help, whether it be going to a counselor or a doctor. If you can't do it alone, take somebody with you. They understand, they are medical professionals. They will realize that a lot of the stuff is things that you can't do by yourself. And you need to have that support of your family and your friends around you. And if they're not going to, if your friends aren't going to support you and be there for you, then maybe it's somebody that you need to not be around for a little while because you need that support. That's the only thing that's going to get you through it, especially at the beginning, until you figure out how to deal with it yourself and how you can tell when an anxiety attack or when you're getting depressed and be able to handle it proactively. That having those people that are there no matter what are the people that you really need around. And don't be afraid to tell someone. Don't be afraid to go to somebody and be like, hey, I'm struggling right now. I need somebody to talk to or somebody to go with me to figure out where do I go to get help? What do I need to do to be able to deal with this? And once you take that first step, it's going to be a lot easier. and just keep pushing through, just keep trucking along one step at a time. Okay, I told one person now I can tell somebody else, now I can go to a counselor, now I can start talking about what's really going on and start working through this and figuring out ways that work for me to deal with this and to be able to function.
Yeah. So, a lot of people are also very weary of medication. Do you have any say on that?
I can definitely understand that it is scary to think about going on antidepressants or anti-anxiety pills because people are more likely to stigmatize you knowing that you're on medication, but don't be so afraid of it that you're not willing to try. There are times where you will get prescribed the wrong medication. That has happened to me. You just try a different one, and most of the time the first or second one they put you on will work, because a lot of the medications for anxiety and depression have changed, and they are more geared towards a wide variety of symptoms versus just one specific thing, and have a lot less side effects than they used to. So it's not something that you should be afraid of. It's something that you should seriously consider, because it'll help. It may help you at first, and you just feel like you're one level, but you're not sad, you're not happy, you're just kind of blah. But you're functioning. It's a start. It's a step. You can wake up in the morning and feel like, okay, I can get out of bed. I may not be happy or the most excited person in the world to do this, but I can do it. And it starts with that. And from there, they help, and it just gets better.
Okay.
And action.
There's a lot of misinformation about depression and anxiety out there. We've kind of covered a lot of that. But I know, like, in my own life, people have been like, oh, it's just temporary. Like, it's just season. And for some people it is, but do you want to address that at all?
Like you said, sometimes it is seasonal. There's such thing as seasonal depression, but a lot of the times it's not. It's something that's going to last a while, and even with depression, most short term is a couple years. You can be dealing with it for a couple years, you can be dealing with it your whole life, and sometimes it is set off by an event, and it could be a little shorter, but like being with the scientific side of it, it is a chemical imbalance. Therefore, it is going to take your body a little longer to re-regulate itself, because kind of like with food, when you eat, if you don't eat enough, then you feel low on energy and you're not sustained, where if you eat too much, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full that I have too much in my system. And being able to find that happy balance in between is really what it's all about, and your body can't necessarily do that on its own. So just realizing that it is usually not something that's temporary. If it's temporary and only lasts a day or two, or even a couple weeks, usually it's not depression, it's some sort of episode with being just upset about something that has happened, or sadness, versus actual depression, because it is diagnosed as something that has lasted for more than 3 months. So even short term is still long term in most cases, and realizing that is something that a lot of people don't understand, that short term means it could be a couple years of my life that I'm dealing with this, or I could be trying to deal with this my entire life and never be able to fully keep it under control, where you feel like you used to, or you feel like you're like everyone else.
Is there anything about, like, your anxiety and depression that you think has become a good thing, you know? Like, maybe that you can use, maybe to help other people, or just you think makes you different in a very special way? Not so much being able to go through this, but going through this has made it so I can help other people. I have many friends who have dealt with anxiety or depression, or come to me because they have friends, hey, my friend is depressed, or they're like, I feel like they're going towards the point where they're going to contemplate suicide or whatever, and
I've been able to help a lot of people who are either in those situations or have friends who are, because they know that I'm open about it and that I have dealt with it myself. So they're like, hey, can you help me? Like, I don't know how to help them. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I need to go to a professional to get help for them. Like, if I need to report it to their parents, like, what do I do in this situation? And being able to help them, help their friends or family members has made it definitely more worth it, and being able to help my own parents and connect to my mom on a different level because of that, I think has been very special and made our connection stronger, because a lot of people with anxiety or depression, there becomes a gap between you and those you're closest to, because they've never been through it, so they can't fully understand. They can try, but they don't have anything close to relate it to. And I think having that has made it easier on me, because I know that I can help others. And being able to help others is definitely something that helps yourself with dealing with anxiety and depression.
What advice do you give to those people who come to you, or like my friend or my parent or somebody I know is struggling? What do I do? Like, what advice do you give them?
Depending on the situation, there are times where like you need to go to their parents, like you need to tell them what's going on, because this is to the point where it could get extremely serious very quickly, where they could try to commit suicide, or something very irrational that is bad for their health and others. Usually it's just try to hear them out, listen to what they're saying, and don't just say it's going to be okay, like you can get through this. Try and actually support them, be there for them, and just say, what can I do? Like, I'm here for you no matter what. Let them know that you're there to support them, because that's the biggest thing with dealing with anxiety and depression, is you feel alone. You feel like there's nobody there for you, and you feel like you're the only one in the world dealing with this. You're not, and even if they can't relate to what you're going through, they will try and help as best they can, and knowing that you have somebody there that is trying to help makes you feel like you're less alone. It makes them feel like, okay, I'm not the only one here, that I have at least one person who cares about me and would notice if I was gone, would notice if I didn't come to school tomorrow, and would check up on me. And having even just that one person can make a world of difference.
I've basically gone through all my information and everything I wanted to ask. Is there anything you want to add?
Not really, besides just try and keep going. It's one bite at a time, one step at a time. It's baby steps. Don't try and take it all on at once, and realize it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it's not going to be easy, but it's worth it. And it's something that, for your own health and for being able to interact with those around you, is extremely helpful, and definitely worth dealing with the extra anxiety and pressure of it.
Yeah. All right.